wasn't brave enough to go to the bar today. Don't ask me why. I'm not sure. Maybe it was the tumult and the noise of the crowd, the kind that would ignore my pleas for help, just for one more shot of whiskey. Or maybe it was the mix of tobacco smoke and hops-laden smell of Nordic beer, that acrid combination that spilled from your lips as you screamed in my face. Or maybe it was the dark and the hot, the cramped, humid spaces like the clamminess of your hands against my face, or the feel of your forehead against mine. Or maybe, it was a million other things that you dragged out of the dark. That night you buried your hands in my tummy and pulled forth more than just my hips towards your own. And even though all I want is to walk those cobblestones down the harbor, feel the ligaments in my legs stretch under that cool sea breeze, my lungs expand with the full salt air, my heart race when I see that kind fisherman, to lose myself in the fuzzy gray of his sweater, or the seafoam green of his eyes, or the soft brown of his fine-fingered hands. I still keep the ice table between us, count the fine lines on his lips instead of looking at his face, no matter how obvious he makes it that all he wants is to press his forehead to mine. Because what if one night it turns out that he wants to add his own storyline to the palimpsest of flashbacks? What if he spills an ocean from his seafoam eyes as he shakes the life from me, or plunges his hands so far into my waist that my insides recoil? What if he too is just like you? I'd rather be alone and never know what the velveteen notes of his voice sound like after hours, or what his last name is, or whether his bed is as soft as his heart, than risk meeting another you again, alone in a hot, humid bar. And this was supposed to be a poem, but I guess now it's a letter to you, even if you don't deserve it, or the space you occupy in my heart or my head. But I thought I could bury you, like I buried the first hurt, bury the feeling of being flipped over by coarse hands in locked rooms, bury the feeling of being tokenized and erased in drafty labs, bury the feeling of black sulfurous sediments sliding into my ear, by wrapping it up in the good and the milk and the honey, in the soft dirt underneath pine plantations, or the smell of honeysuckle and sunshine on the mount, in the taste of freshly cut pineapples and iced coffee and catered sandwiches. But I can't. No matter how many times I try to lose the memory of you, every time I walk down the harbor faster and farther away from the men who look like carbon copies of you. Because let's be honest, like you were that night at the bar, when you confessed yourself to me, you were part of the burial before. You were a piece of the loamy topsoil. Your smile every time we met, and your embrace every time we parted ways. The quiet way we would talk among the stately trees about anything at all. And I wish so much that that night hadn't happened, that you hadn't appeared in the doorway lurking like a ghost, that you never ordered that beer like hops in a glass, that you had never taken those hands that had once held me in hugs as soft as that fisherman's heart, and buried them so far into my body that you dragged out every black moment I ever had, from the interstitial space between my ribs and into the space between us, that night at the bar, when you confessed yourself to me.